welcome to another video. I'm Rachel. Today I'm finally doing a really simple video on how to make your own Orgonite. It is a really simple process, if not a little bit time consuming. I have a whole video that I will link for you about my Orgonite story, and that kind of tells you a little bit more about the experiences I've had with it and how I was introduced to it. But just really simply, when I found out about Orgonite, someone simply told me about it and what it was. And back then, there wasn't a lot online about it. It was hard to find things, but I did find one little article that just kind of explained that all you really needed was as close to a 50-50 ratio as you can get to resin and metal in organic and organic matter, and then a wrapped quartz point inside. So the metal, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So what is Orgonite? Orgonite is an energy tool. I tell people that they're energy cleaners. I have seen them personally do things like either make people nicer or make them go away. I have seen them just take stress out of people when people hold them. It usually makes like a whole environment just a better vibe and happier and lighter. And they just look like little paperweights. So as I was saying, all you really need is the resin, the metal, and a quartz point. So the metal attracts the energy in the room, the quartz point cleans the energy in the room, and then that's how it's supposed to be, like a energy cleaner all the time. Now, my pieces are a lot different than a lot of pieces that I see online, because other pieces that I see are either very mass produced and they barely have any metal in them. People put a lot of like crystal chips in them, which is cool, but without all of the metal in there, I just don't feel like it actually does what Orgonite is supposed to do. So I see a lot of those ones, but then I also see like really serious fancy ones by people who like really study Orgonite, and they do all of these precise coils and all of these layers and all of that stuff. And dude, I think that's so cool. Mine are more like you take the basis of Orgonite and what it needs, and then I try to also make it into a piece of art. So even if you don't believe in the metaphysical properties of it, it's still something nice to look at. It's still something you could have laying around the house that just looks like a decoration, maybe not something that people will be like, what is that type of thing. But I am here to tell you that you can make your own, and you can make them in a simple way and they will still work. I know this because I've never had a super fancy piece. I have always just had the pieces that I make, and I have seen them work in my own life multiple times. I have seen them work in other people's lives. I have gifted them to people who were having problems, and all of a sudden their like relationship problems went away when they took it home and they didn't know why. Like little things, I just know that they still work even though they're simple. So this is just a really simple video showing you how I make my Orgonite. So these are the things that I use to make the Orgonite. Just a little pair of pliers, some wire cutters, and then assorted things to wrap the wire around to make the coils. You can use pencils, pens, pretty much anything that you have laying around. I like using ones that are different sizes to make different sized coils. And then you just need some wire. I like using copper wire the best. I just always have. I'm not sure why. And you just start coiling them around something. And you just start wrapping to make a coil. After you get it the length that you want, you just clip it off with the wire cutters right there. And you can make them as long and as short as you want. I like making all different sizes. I don't like these sharp edges poking out, so for every piece, I take these pliers and I bend the pieces in. I bend them in and then like up into the coil so that it's never sticking out anywhere. Every once in a while you can see like the edges of the coils in the Orgonite, and I just never want it to be sharp. So Then you just have to make about 1,000,000 more. And that's step one. The next thing that you need is a wrapped quartz point. So I buy little bags of these quartz points and you just wrap it with some wire. And again, I like to take the edges and clean them up a little bit with the pliers so that nothing is sticking out. And it's also helpful whenever you're using these really small quartz pieces. Sometimes it's just hard to maneuver the wire enough. So you can even use the pliers to help you actually wrap it around the crystal if you need to. And then this is a little silicone mold that I have. I am putting the quartz points into the molds that I'm going to use today. I usually like to do more than one at a time. If I'm mixing up the resin, it's just easier to make a few at a time usually. But you don't have to use a silicone mold. You can use metal molds and then use like a blowtorch to get it out. I've done that in the past. I have used glass molds before and then actually broken the glass off of them. The possibilities are endless. And then I just go through and pick up the coils that I'm going to be putting into a piece, picking out the colors that I want and kind of making sure I have enough to fit into the little piece of mold that I'm using. Sometimes I hold down the point in the middle and throw the coils in around it so that the coil is still where I want it. And sometimes I place each piece individually with little tweezers. It just depends on what I'm making that day. But I'm just showing you the simplest way to make Orgonite. I always go through and pat on top too, because you don't want the pieces coming out of the top. So evening out on the top is something I always do. This is the kind of resin I'm using right now. It's not necessarily my favorite. I use different kinds every time. I keep it in this cardboard box. And then I use a silicone mixing bowl, simply because after everything is dry, you can pick the resin right off of it. You guys, when you get resin on things, you can't really get it off, so be very careful. But this, you can take anything out of it, which is why I love the silicone measuring cup. It's very easy to use. And you can see that it has measurements on the side, makes it super easy because usually resin is a 50-50 ratio. But each brand is different, so always just read the directions. I haven't found the perfect resin yet. That's why I buy a different kind every time I get it. They are all different. Some of them are more clear, some of them have less bubbles, some of them, smell really bad. I'm just trying to find the perfect one. So I did part A, and this is part B. And then you use something to mix it with. This mixer came with my silicone measuring cup, I think, but you can use plastic spoons or knives or anything. But whatever you use to mix it, you're probably going to have to throw out afterwards. And I use a motion of going like in and down and up to get it really thoroughly mixed. And then just follow the directions. Some of the kinds take 3 minutes, some of them take 6 minutes. And then you just very slowly and carefully start pouring it over your coils. And you can see I keep everything on this tray because you can see all of the old resin stuck to the tray. So it is just a little bit messy. And then you just cover them all up the same way with the resin until you get to the top. And then I go through and push down any coils that seem to be sticking up out of the resin. And sometimes you really have to rearrange them in there and move a few around in order to get them all to lay flat. and then you let them dry. Usually I let them sit overnight so they're completely dry, and then if you're using a silicone mold, they pop right out. It is so easy to get them out, and you have Orgonite. It is simple, and they are so cute. Bam. That's how easy it is, guys. Simple. Simple. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all so much, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you. I hope you have such a great day. I will see you all next time.